Neonic Void Productions presents.
Welcome to Spookapocalypse. I am your host, Bunyip, and I'm joined here, of course, with Zio.
God, I'm so famous.
I'll calm down.
No, I could never. If I had hair, a full head of hair, and being long, y'all couldn't take it.
Like
I'd be no, like a full long shoulder length hair, like a wig. If I had hair, y'all couldn't take it. I'd be a menace to society. Granted, I already am, but nonetheless, hi, how are you? Welcome to Spookapocalypse. Where we do shit that is spooky. We do spooky stuff, yo. So, to get into today's episode, let's just jump into the housekeeping. So, again, if you look in the description below, you'll see a link to our link tree where we have links to all the other podcasts of the Neonic Void Productions that I am part of, as well as my friends like Bunyip. There'll also be a link to our YouTube channel. Please go subscribe. Click that subscribe link or button, whatever. We're also on Twitter because we're not calling it by that name. We're on Twitter at SPOOKOCALYPSE. We do spooky shit. Spooky stuff, you know? Do the spooky stuff. So, but also before we get into the episode, we have gosh, what is this? Is this a sponsor? Oh my god. We're sponsored today by Audible. Girl, let me tell you something, babes. I've been wanting a sponsor forever, and we finally have one. And it's Audible, baby. So in the link, there'll be a link in the description that'll take you to your first free month trial of Audible. And you will get a 30 days free trial and a free book. So go do that. Now let's open today's episode. And today's flavored mint is
Hubba Bubba Bubble Tape.
Hubba Bubba Bubble Tape. I was going to say dust.
Oh, I mean, I was thinking of something to wrap with.
Oh. Okay, you know what? That's fine. I'll go with that Hubba Bubba Bubble Tape. God, that's a 90s pull. So, today, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, we are still on the kick for the old school monster films from Universal. And today, spoiler alert, we're probably talking about the most boring one so far. The Mummy! The Mummy!
Yeah, he's often forgotten, and I can kind of see why.
Yeah, I can kind of see why. Yeah. So, The Mummy was released in December 22nd, 1932. This budget for this movie was a whopping $196,000. Damn. It was directed by Carl Front.
Maybe Front.
It's a German name. Front? I'm terrible. We know this.
In there. It's Freund.
Yeah. I'm not good with names. We know this, people. It's nothing new. If you've been here for a while, you know. I'm terrible. So, Carl, love ya. let's see, the main actors. You know what? I'll leave it to Bunyip. Bunyip, who are the actors?
Well, we have Boris Karloff coming back as Imhotep, the mummy. We have Zita Johann as Helen Grosvenor. We just call her Helen, but she's mainly the
Yeah.
damsel in distress. And Imhotep would like to take her as his bride because he sees her as someone else. We'll get into that. We've got
Yeah.
David Manners as Frank Wimple. We've got Arthur Byron as Sir Joseph Wimple. We've got Edward Van Sloan, who's showing up again as Dr. Muller. We've got Bramwell Fletcher as Ralph Norton. We've got Noble Johnson as the Nubian, Leonard Moody as Professor Pearson, James Crane as Pharaoh, Pharaoh Amenophis. I think this is when it's in the past,
Yeah.
that brief window. Montague Shaw as Gentleman, who appears at the party. Oh, I guess he was like a minor character. And then
Yeah.
Henry Victor as the Saxon warrior.
Scenes deleted.
I just read all of them and I'm like, oh, I didn't know about any Saxon warrior.
Scenes were deleted. So Karloff, aka Imhotep, was also the guy who played Frankenstein's
Yay.
monster. Anyway,
And
Frankenstein's
he
monster.
has speaking lines this time.
He does have speaking lines this time. And let me just I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna save that for when we rate this movie. So the movie, again, this movie is short, y'all. This movie is 73 minutes long. These movies are not that long. So you could literally watch a bunch of them in like an afternoon, watch like 5, and you from like 12 to 5 p.m. and you'll be Gucci. Okay. They're not long. So we're just going to start off in 1921. An archaeologist named, an archaeologist exposition led by Sir Joseph Wimple. Wimple. You know, the British, because the British love to take shit from Egypt.
And they have a bunch of artifacts that they maybe should give back, but aren't inclined to.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole conversation with that, but this is back in the heyday where they were doing that. Doing that more so than, like the Prime doing that. So this group found a mummy of ancient Egyptian high priest mummy named Imhotep. Now, Imhotep, you're like, wow, wait, is that name sound familiar? Yeah, the 1999 version of The Mummy is kind of a remake of this movie, kind of. And they used the same name, Imhotep. So
I think they used the same name with virtually everyone. And
I
did see
think they did.
scenes that were similar, but they weren't shot for shot remakes. It was just
Yeah.
like, point is, we really like the 1999 version.
Oh, it's so good. If you have not watched it and you were born in the honestly, who cares if you were when you were born? 90s, 2000s. If you have not seen the 1999 Mummy and its sequel, The Mummy 2, do yourself a favor. It's a trip. It's a hoot. I'm sure eventually we're going to talk about it on this podcast because I just need to find it on streaming because let me tell you, the movie's great. It's funny. It's good. So, Imhotep. They found the mummy of a high priest named Imhotep. A inspection of the mummy revealed that the mummy's, how do you even say that?
Oh, viscera.
Viscera. Organs?
Yeah, basically like.
Is the name another word for organs?
I would think so. Basically your insides.
Oh, the insides were not removed, which basically indicated to them, oh, he was buried alive. Ooh.
Yeah, like typical Egyptian mummification is like, we're going to remove your organs while you're alive and then have your body preserved. And then your organs are stored in canopic jars. And I think that's for the afterlife. But his were not removed. They just wrapped him up.
Yep. They sure did.
And he did a naughty thing that we're going to get to about later.
So they buried Imhotep alive, but they also buried him in a casket with a curse on it. Despite Muller's warning, Sir Joseph, His assistant opens it and finds an ancient living scroll, aka the Scroll of Thoth, which Thoth, if y'all do not know, is a god in Egyptian mythology. He is the god of knowledge? Question.
He's the god of knowledge.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he's the god of the moon, wisdom, knowledge. I was correct. Science, magic, art, and judgment.
And his head is typically that of an ibis.
Yes. I did that because I wanted to make sure. I was like, he's a god of knowledge? Question mark. I was right.
It's like a life-giving scroll, and I think it was
A life-giving scroll from him.
and I'm trying to think,
Magic, Thoth, it
they
makes sense.
also mentioned the goddess Isis,
Yes.
and I'm like, did she write the scroll, or is she just? I don't remember how Isis ties into the story. She's kind of brought up sometimes.
She's brought up. I mean, she's one. I think during the spell when they were reading it, they mentioned her name. Like her name is in the spell itself, and of course, Imhotep I think mentions name drops her several times, along with like Ra and shit. But I don't think she necessarily has a significant. No, scratch that. We'll get to that. We'll get to what how she incorporates into this later towards the end. But he translates the symbols and then reads the words aloud, causing the mummy to come to life. And the guy, the assistant, starts laughing hysterically. Oh my God. There were fireworks going on outside of my window, and it scared the living shit out of me.
Wait, just now?
Yes. People are shooting fireworks off. It's not even the 3rd yet.
We can't wait for America's independence. We got to do this now.
Oh my God. Anyway, before I get myself from being scared from explosions randomly, so he reads the scroll. Imhotep comes to life and walks off, and the freaking assistant loses his goddamn mind, and he starts laughing hysterically, talking about how Imhotep walked off. He took a nice little stroll at night, and he's just laughing hysterically from it. And it said that that he died later, still laughing in a straitjacket. I was like, what? Okay. Yeah, he kind of lost his mind. So I guess he did. He died from laughing so much. Is that even possible?
I guess if you don't breathe.
That's fair.
I mean, it reminds me of a plot of an episode of Code Lyoko. Where they all have the
Oh,
laughing gas, and then they're like having trouble breathing. Like, oh no, you got to stop Xana before he laughs himself to death.
okay. Well, there you go.
But yeah, the mummy just takes the scroll and just shuffles off, just like bye.
He's like, bye. And the guy's just hysterically laughing. And I was like, what the fuck is this movie? And then we jump 10 years. Because, no one's looking for the mummy. Imhotep's just chilling, minding his own damn business, like for 10 years, just living life. Like, hello. So we jump 10 years. Imhotep has assimilated into society, modern society. And I'm just like, what? Okay. Taking on the identity of an Egyptian historian named Ardath Bey.
Yeah,
Ardath Bey. And he calls upon Sir Joseph's son, Frank, and a professor, and shows them where to dig to find the tomb of the princess. God, how do you say her name?
Princess Ankhesenamun.
Ankhesenamun? Ankhesenamun.
Like Ankhesenamun. It's kind of difficult to pronounce.
Ankhesenamun. Close enough. After locating the tomb of this princess, of course, the archaeologists present the treasures to the Cairo Museum. After which, Imhotep disappears. Well, they don't know him as Imhotep, but Bey disappears. He soon then reappears, encountering Helen, a half Egyptian woman bearing a striking resemblance to the princess that he had Sir Joseph dig up the tomb of. So, and who stays with Muller. So the woman Helen's is with Muller currently. Bay falls in love with her, but so does Frank. And after it's discovered that Bay is the mummy Imhotep, because like you do, duh. Muller urges Joseph to burn the scroll of Thoth. But when Joseph tries to do so, Imhotep, of course, uses magic and kills him. And then hypnotizes a Nubian?
Yes, the Nubian. He's like a tall servant.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And his hypnotism power is surprisingly strong. He just has to do it from
Yeah.
a pool of water.
Right. So he hypnotizes a Nubian to be his slave and bring him, of course, the scroll of Thoth. And after this servant does, he hypnotizes Helen to come to his place, and there he reveals reveals to her his death was a punishment, a sacrilege, as he attempted to reincarnate his forgotten lover, the princess. Ankh S.N. Aman.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in the movie, they establish that like people reincarnate all the time, and Imhotep's sin was trying to resurrect her early. It's like,
Yeah.
I want her back now. I don't want to wait for her to come back as someone else. I want her now. And then they caught him reading, and it's like, uh-oh. And then they like had him mummified, and then when they put him in the casket, they like deface the sarcophagus, like they chip off that pointy beard
Yeah.
part, and they remove the jewels.
Yeah. The way they filmed the scene of him being mummified and being wrapped up is literally, I was like watching that and I'm like, oh, wow. They were referencing that in the 1999 film. But the only difference is when they put him in the coffin, they put scarabs in the coffin with Imhotep in the 1999 version.
And they took his organs out. Like they showed him take off his tongue, and he's like, oh no, not the tongue.
Yeah. Well, they didn't take out all his organs because he was alive still when they put him in there with the scarabs. Because if they took out all his organs, he wouldn't be alive. So I saw that and I'm like, okay, I see what they were referencing there. All right. But yeah, he was punished for trying to do a resurrection, resurrecting his love early. And he attempts to make her his immortal bride by killing, mummifying, and of course reincarnating her. So then Frank and Muller come to her rescue, but are immobilized by Imhotep's magic. Helen is then saved when she remembers her ancestral past life and prays to the goddess Isis to come to her aid. She does this whole chant praying to Isis to save her ass from Imhotep. The statue of Isis raises her arm and emits a flash and sets the scroll on fire. And it breaks the spell, and Imhotep loses his immortality. And it causes him to crumble into dust. But what's funny is like the statue kind of, you could just feel the statue turn her head going, bitch, raises her arm and goes, yeet, and just sets the scroll on fire. And I was like, oh, she was serving cunt that day. She served. And we ate. That was my favorite part of the movie, the statue moving, because I thought it was kind of funny. She served. So Imhotep died, turned to dust. And then Dr. Miller, I can't speak today. So Frank calls Helen back to the world of the living while the scroll continues to burn. And like every other black and white movie in this era, it kind of just ends abruptly. And there's the ending, y'all. Damn. Did I forget anything?
No, there's not a lot to forget. Well, I think there's stuff to forget, but it's not important because it's mainly, you can sum it up as we woke up the mummy. We see
Yep.
him walking around in broad daylight. We're not sure
Yep.
who it is uh, until we have a scene that like almost repeats how they find out Dracula. Not exactly the same methods, but just sort of like they're talking about him and then they realize, oh, it's him. And then you see him in the midst of trying to awaken his bride, and then they thwart the plans, and then he's gone. It's a short movie, and a lot of the exposition parts are just they're hard to sit through because
Yeah,
there's
a
not
little bit.
really a lot happening, and it
No.
sort of seems like it's information you already know. And I'm like, I get it. I know
Yep.
the stakes. Please move on.
Yep. Pretty much. It was kind of boring and doesn't follow Imhotep that much. I mean, he's there, but at the same time, he's really not. Like, I'm sorry. How does Imhotep decide takes he just disappears for 10 years, no one questions anything, and then he comes back 10 years later as part of society? Like nothing happened. How do you get so young? Well, young-ish, I should say. Human-like again. Because in the 1999 version, he was sucking life out of people, killing people to get his human body back. And I'm like, did he do that in those 10 years that he was gone?
The rest of the remake is the rest of this episode is just me like, here's what the remake got right.
See, this is one of those cases where the remake was better.
It's more action oriented and stuff like
Yeah.
this is explained. Although
Yeah.
I gotta say the shot of Boris Karloff just staring dead eyed to the camera
Yeah.
several times is really
Oh,
good.
yes. I mean, this movie did have had its golden moments. The statue taking out Imhotep at the end, the mummy coming to life in the beginning. There's some good shots and good stuff in this movie, but overall, compared to the ones we've seen so far, this one's at the bottom of the list. So, but you should definitely watch this at least once, because let me guarantee you, if you watch the 1999 movie, you're going to watch this and then want to watch the 1999 version, because you're going to get all the references and homages they were making to this movie, obviously. Because they some of the shots in the 1999 version, you could see them where they pulled them from in this movie. And I never realized that, because I'd never watched this movie till literally like 3 hours ago. Yeah, 3 hours ago. So, symbolism? I mean, we already went over Thoth, but
Love and death, I guess. It's really a stretch.
yeah,
Like,
reincarnation, Isis.
they kind of did the mummy dirty. Like they could have made him a much
He
stronger
did.
character. Like I did sympathize with the fact he's like, I miss my loved one, I want to bring her back. And that like it makes it seem like he has some sort of noble goal. And then when he shows up again as a villain, he's just like, I'm gonna get her back no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, but it doesn't seem like a very strong, compelling story as it currently is.
No. They took the idea and they made it better in later versions, obviously. Took the same concept, because 1999 one has literally the same concept. And they just obviously they added more to it, more in depth, the story. Not the 2020, not the 2012 version. 2012? 2012,
I thought it was like
20,
2017.
sorry, 2017. Yeah, 2017. 2017 Mummy with Tom Cruise, no, ew, that one wasn't based around the original story of the Mummy at all. It was based around, gosh, what was the Mummy's name in that one?
I
She was loosely
barely
based on Imhotep, but wasn't Imhotep. But regardless, that movie deserved a lot more love than it got. It just sucked because Tom Cruise was in it. Yep.
Did he did he ruin it by his presence, or was it by his
Um,
acting?
from what I know, I didn't like him in it. I think he ruined it personally, in the fact that he had, from what I hear, he had his hands in the mix of the Mummy of that movie, and it kind of just fucked it up. So I'm like, who the fuck are you? Your character's dumb. But yeah, no. That movie deserved a lot more love because there was some great stuff in it, and the actress they got to play the Mummy is a fantastic actress, and the aesthetic of the Mummy was great. Oh, so good. But alas, that version did not hold up, and it's what brought down the MonsterVerse, the Dark Universe series that Universal was trying to do.
They might try and I imagine they might try and revitalize that in the future.
Hopefully, because I know right now
Maybe
they're
not.
just doing. I know they're doing more standalones, like they did with the Invisible Man.
I was about to say, like, maybe not that exact universe, but just to be like, here are other interpretations of the same monsters that we've had before.
Yeah, because they did the Invisible Man. I think they're still doing a version of the Bride of Frankenstein. I think is the next one, and I know they did Dracula Untold, which I mean, I really like that one. But they're like, oh no, this is not part of the Dark Universe. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? But no, I mean, they tried to bring these movies back, and I think they should, but just don't have Tom Cruise part of it. You know, I mean, this is not a I hate Tom Cruise podcast, but I can make it that way. I'm not though. So the original Mummy, so the Mummy is one that is the universal monster. That's obviously it's engraved in pop culture. I mean, again, it's not one of those monsters that inspired the costume. I mean, that's why the Mummy's popular for the Halloween costumes. Someone wants to be the Mummy. It's usually because of this movie or the 1999 version.
You can also make a dollar store version where you use cheap
Yeah.
one-ply toilet paper.
Yes, but again, this is one of the iconic monsters of Universal. So, rating system 1 out of 5.
I was about to ask, like, how has the Mummy survived today? Then, like other incarnations, like not necessarily what Universal has made, and not necessarily the 1999 film, but like just in popular media.
The Mummy.
Yep, like as a typical monster.
I mean, the Mummy has shown. I mean, I don't know if it's shown up in recent years, but the Mummy as a monster has shown up quite a bit over the last 100 years or so. Well, not 100 years, more like 90 some years, but because I mean, I'm trying to think of.
Basically a zombie in wrapping paper, right?
Yeah, an Egyptian zombie powered by magic. Yeah, in the desert. Yeah.
So general consensus, Mummy probably deserves a little more love than he usually gets.
Yeah. And the movie was all right, but
Yeah, it was sort of okay. So rating system?
1 out of 5. I'm not gonna say dead dog. 1 out of 5.
Oh my god, we didn't even talk about the dog that she had to
We
drag
didn't even
into
talk.
the room, and then it barks at.
And then then Imhotep kills him.
I don't
They
remember
kill a
that
dog
happening.
the Imhotep kills a dog in the movie.
I don't remember that happening. I thought the movie just took the dog away, and then you just didn't see it again.
Because she asked, "It's like, what happened to the dog?" And she's like, "Oh, it died." What? She's so nonchalant about it.
It ran away.
It's dead. The fuck you mean it's dead? The fuck?
And like the one Persian cat that shows up in the film and then just disappears.
Exactly. The cat's like, and then you never see the cat again. I'm like, where is that scene? Like in the night again, the 1999 version, where the cat looks at Imhotep, hisses, and Imhotep is like, "Oh shit, a cat!" And it's like, ah, because the cats are guardians of the dead, quote unquote. Well, okay. Here's some lore drop. They're not really guardians of the dead. They're more like little tattletales, right? Because from what I understand and what I have looked into over the last like several years, is that the cats are not necessarily guardians of the dead. They will rat out the dead to Bast. I think it's the god. One of the god. One of the
Bastet.
Bastet. It's one of the cat goddesses, but I think it's Bastet. They'll go rat to Bastet, and Bastet be like, "I don't fucking think so. You're going back to go. You're going to stay dead, bitch." So it's one of those things where the cats will rat them out.
The cats are snitches.
basically, because that's the one thing that stuck out to me because I was looking up like, I think like years ago when I was looking into Egyptian mythology for that short time I did for Tea of the Gods that have not been posted yet, but one day I might post them. But the one thing I came up with, because I was always wondering, are cats really the guardians of the dead? And in a way, they kind of are associated. Obviously, the cats were worshipped as gods and pampered, and that's why that's why we have cats that have egos. Not really, but like, I always tell my cat when she walks around like a pampered princess, I'm like, just because the Egyptians pampered your kind doesn't mean I'm going to, babe. Save the attitude. But that's the one thing that stuck out to me is that the cats are not necessarily guardians of the dead, but they'll rat out the motherfuckers. They'll tattletale and then they'll snitch. They're like, "Hey, yo, this motherfucker over here think he can walk around going and shit." So rating system 1 out of 5. Scrolls of Thoth.
Yeah, might as well. It's not a lot to go off of.
No, there's really not. 1 out of 5 Scrolls of Thoth. I'm gonna rate this one a 2 out of 5 Scrolls of Thoth. And it was good. I mean, it had some good points. I thought it was hilarious when the assistant was laughing his ass off, and then you find out he died later of laughter, and you're like, "What?" And then the statue serving cunt and pussy and killing Imhotep, making him dust. Great, love it. And the way the actress delivered Helen's line of, "Oh, the dog died," and just stare off into the distance, 1,000-yard stare, and you're like, "Girl, you okay?" Great. But yeah, 2 out of 5.
I liked her outfits. Like she had several different gorgeous outfits to have.
Oh, she was serving.
Well, yeah, 2.5. I guess my only quote unquote criticisms would be like lots of exposition that doesn't seem to hold interest very much.
Yeah.
And the camera shots aren't really all that interesting. Like a lot of it's like wide shots, and this doesn't seem very varied up. Like there could have been maybe some more close ups, but they were working with what they knew at the time.
Yeah.
I do like how Boris Karloff walked. Like he just kept his arms stiff.
Yeah. Which would make sense because the body kind of just stiffens up.
Yeah.
After death. Rigor mortis.
But yeah, other than some of those solid moments, it's kind of in the middle of the road for me.
Yeah. 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 Pretty much. So the common score is 2.25 for Universal's The Mummy. There you go. Go find it. Go watch it. It's out there somewhere in the world. I'm sure you can find it on streaming somewhere. Not gonna say where, but you can find it.
We're just well, you can buy or rent it on YouTube.
Yeah, you can buy it or rent it on YouTube. You can buy or rent most of these movies as well as like the Universal release of a bunch of these collections. Like I want the Blu-ray collection of all these classic monster films, like so bad. But shit's expensive. And of course, my boyfriend has all these movies too. So, but yeah, go watch it. Go find it. Go watch it. Learn the history of horror. But thank you all for watching today's episode on The Mummy, and catch us next time as we continue on through our adventures through the classic horror genre tonight. Horror genre. And next time we're going to be talking about The Invisible Man. Woo!
Yeah, the Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man. Okay, bye.
Goodbye, everyone.